so that Randa can sing. Sing with her.
Yes, sing with me. And this, of course, the entire hotel will hear, but oh well. We all need it. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Now I'm walking and talking with my mind stayed on freedom. I'm walking and talking with my mind stayed on freedom. I'm walking and talking with my mind just stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Now I woke up this morning with my mind, yes I did, stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind just stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Oh, hallelujah.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So good to see everyone today. Some rich chatting as we were coming into this morning, and I was feeling that people were bringing up the same things that I've been thinking about, sort of how to manage our emotions and our thoughts, and how to focus now our energy in the most effective possible way. So I love that you all kind of brought that up, and I hope that we can talk about that. We also want to talk about Georgia. We talked about Georgia quite a bit last week. Over the last few weeks, I think we've decided that that's really our focus in terms of action, and we're all going to do that in slightly different ways. But we want to support the Black-led organizing that's been happening before this so that it can move forward into the future in the most effective way. And of course, the campaigns and Stacey Abrams' Fair Fight. And then there are many other ways to support Georgia. So we could have some time to talk about that. So yeah, Bessie, go ahead.
I have a question for Diane, picking up where we left off.
Okay.
Earlier. Do you know if there will be any North Carolina sponsored campaigns for phone banking or text banking?
Oh, unmute.
Yeah, I can drop a couple of links in for phone banking. I'll tell you, the phone banks seem to fill up very quickly because there's so many people from
That's
outside.
Good. I don't want phone banking. I want text banking.
And I'll send you the link for directly for the campaigns so they can direct you on that. I will say at this point they're asking people not to come into the state because they have their own people there, and then managing during a pandemic people from outside is not necessarily helpful. So we do have to sort of satisfy ourselves with those things. Like you said, there are some postcard campaigns too, for those of you who like to do that. But there are active phone banks and text messaging programs. So I will, if I don't drop it all in the chat, I can, for some reason, it's not letting me. Oh, there it goes. This is one you mentioned, Stacy. This link I just put in is an event tonight with Stacy and the two candidates. So if you're interested in hearing her interact with the candidates, I think it starts at like $50. So that link is there. But I'll send you all the stuff I have about phone banking and texting. And if I find out about any postcard programs, I'll send those to you.
That's great. We'll put that in the tiny letter, Diane. Thank you so much. Yeah, go ahead, Scarlett.
I'll send it to you, Karen.
Okay, yeah, good. Scarlett?
First of all, a question. What happens to all the campaign money that Cal Cunningham has left? And how do we encourage his organization that money should be sent to help those in Georgia?
You should write him and tell him, especially if you donated to him. I was one of those people that never was a Cal Cunningham person. So I voted for him, but I wasn't going to donate to him. But since you donated to him, you should write him and tell him exactly that. All of you who did.
Yeah, Dewey, go ahead.
I would expect, since he sent that stupid letter for his pot and the one to go to Georgia, I would expect that he took a chance and is probably in debt now. But I agree. If he's got it, he sure ought to go in the Georgia campaign.
Now, some people are working on letters and postcards to Georgia already, right? And how do you do that?
Vote Forward is, I've heard from them, but I haven't gotten instructions from them yet. Has anybody?
They said they were going to issue a link this week, that they're still getting it together. That's the last I heard.
Okay.
Well, Reclaim Our Vote is organizing it as well. And I have a neighbor who's who got the postcards already and is going to distribute them this week with addresses. So Reclaim Our Vote is another force.
Yeah. The other one is okay. The other one is Flip the West as well. They're doing postcards.
Yeah, Karen, you sent a link that had all this stuff in it in your last tiny letter. It had a wonderful page that had donate and postcards and phone banking, everything in it.
Thank you, Mitch. Thank you. I didn't even pay you to say that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, Flip the West and Georgia postcards were two of the links that I got into it. So I've got like 200 postcards ready to start writing. So.
And I think the donation link in the tiny letter splits the donation 3 ways to the 2 campaigns and Fair Fight, which is Stacey Abrams' organization. Mm-hmm. I'm so inspired by Georgia. I feel like it's, the South can really be a player in 2022 and 2024 if we can do what they've done in Georgia. Anything else? Great, Scarlett. Scarlett has this great T-shirt. John Ossoff. Anything else about Georgia?
Whatever we're doing here is not working.
This isn't about Georgia, but it's referencing your last comment, Karen, which is Reverend Barber, when he was speaking last Saturday at the rally, reminded us all that it was 2008 in which North Carolina was a blue state and that we were a swing state. And it was because of that we got the backlash that led to the gerrymandering and the voter suppression. And that if we continue to do the voter registration and voter turnout at the same time that we're working on the social justice issues, that we can change things in 2022 and 2024 in North Carolina.
Thank you so much, Jan. Yeah, that's an important thing to say. I think it's not so much that it's not working, is that it's a slow process. It's a long game, and we are making progress. That's what you're saying, right, Jan?
Lucy, and yes, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, Lucy, hi. I'm sorry, I don't see you, so I'm trying to figure out your voice. Thanks for telling me. Okay, Jewel?
I think to this point that the cabinet appointments that are being made are going to have a profound impact on Democrat or on turnout for the Democratic ballot in 2022. If they appoint a bunch of neoliberals, they're going to see the problem that happened in 2018 again.
I mean, 16.
And whatever, you know what I mean, 2012 too.
I have to say that that I'm feeling very much like it's really important what we focus on, like energetically and with our minds. I've been feeling that more and more, and that there are about 1 million kind of negative pitfalls that we can fall into several times a day. So, for example, in the last couple weeks, I was so terrified that the militia were going to slaughter, well, not militia, they're not militia, the right-wing, white supremacist terrorists were going to slaughter people in those 3 protests on the 7th, on the 10th, and on the 14th, and or the 4th, the 7th, and the 14th. And because I was mobilizing one of them, I was terrified that I was going to be leading people into a slaughter, you know. And, you know, I got so tense about it and so upset about it. And also I was working with this coalition that I woke up on the 14th and I just couldn't get out of bed. Like, I just couldn't go. And I realized that all of that terror and worry, none of that happened. None of it. You know, like it's so easy to fall into that fear. We're being really primed to fall into fear, and not that we don't have to figure out how to protect each other. But I learned something from that, because I'm really learning to focus on, we got rid of Trump. I mean, he's not gone yet, but he's going to be out of there on January 20th. I have no doubt about that anymore. And that's huge. That's huge. And that was 10,000 precincts doing a fair election that can't be challenged. I mean, that's incredible. So more and more, I'm feeling like and I'm just speaking for myself, just for my own mental health, but also because I want to be as effective as I possibly can to end white supremacy, to stop this reign of terror that we've been living under. I'm going to really work to focus on, and I don't want to, it's not like positive thinking. It's like there is a big love holding all of us, or we would all be dead a long time ago, you know, or this, you know, this would not have happened, that we could have gotten rid of Trump, because it's not Trump, you know, it's economic redistribution that started with Reagan in 1980. It's the Koch brothers. It's the huge, vast right-wing conspiracy that that Hillary she made fun of when she said that, but it was true. You know, dark money. We've learned so much in these 4 years about the reason why Trump has come into power. And so it's so much bigger than Trump. And so I'm feeling, and I'm going to stop talking in a minute, but we have to be really careful about what we're focusing on, and how we move forward. And it's not like I know, but I'm really glad that we figured out about Georgia, because that's simple and we can all do something to help that happen. Yeah, so I just want to open up that discussion, because I don't even want to use labels like progressive or neoliberal or right or left or red or blue. I don't, you know. Yeah, Gary, or is it Gary? It's Doyle. Go ahead.
Yes. Karen, I just want to underline that you do take on a huge amount of responsibility, and you really did within the last months, and it's so grateful for that. But always carry with you that we love you and we're with you all the time.
Oh, I love you, Doyle. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really felt that. I felt that. Thank you. Yeah, Dewey, go ahead.
Karen, I hear you, and I try to. I'm fighting that too. What I heard there. If someone had asked me how I'm doing, I was prepared to say I'm angry.
Yeah.
And I'm angry that this man that took 4 years out of my life, our lives, and now won't let up. But what I wanted to say is, don't let your guard down. Dottie and I watched the Chicago 7 movie the other night, and just y'all remember this better than me, but one person got a hold of a mic and started that whole thing. And in each of these 3 events that you put in there, just especially the one in DC, just think of what could have happened and might happen next time if one person gets a hold of the wrong mic and the wrong crowd, and see what happens. So don't let your guard. We're having to deal with it, and then hear the news about the military stuff that Trump has alluded to yesterday and today. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. There's something that has really helped me around anger, because anger is so good. Anger is like this indication that something is wrong. And I feel like we have felt that more and more, and that's good, because so much is wrong, and there's so much that we have to heal and that we have to change. And my spiritual teacher, meditation teacher, Lama Rod Owens, who's a gay Black man, talks about how what's underneath that anger is heartbreak.
Yeah.
It's heartbreak. It's disappointment. Mm-hmm. And the more I can get into my heartbreak, it helps me, because the anger can kind of burn me out. Yeah, Jewel.
I'm going to repeat myself here, but when you asked Karen, what do we think we should be focused on? Responding to that piece, we first came together around the cabinet appointments. And I just want to say, to throw my idea about what we should consider anyway focusing on is cabinet appointments.
I have to, Karen, can I say something? I want to say that I agree with Jewel in who he appoints, not necessarily just in his cabinet, but those he surrounds himself with. I was very hopeful for Yes We Can and change is coming. However, as soon as Obama appointed Rahm Emanuel and Timothy Geithner as his first 2 announcements, it was not change we could believe in, and he proved it for 8 years. And if Biden continues to a 3rd Obama term, which he got a lot of good things done, and unfortunately Mitch McConnell obviously didn't give him the chance. But leadership is so important, and who he surrounds himself with. I think Chuck Schumer's got to go. I think Nancy Pelosi, I'm not saying she should go, but she certainly should surround herself with the progressives in the wing. I think progressive ideas have carried a lot of people over the finish line, and without that, you're going to lose. Jill's right. We're going to lose everybody. There'll be no base. And I don't know. In the long run, maybe it's better. We can establish new parties or something with new ideas. But I think most of us in this group don't have the time to wait for that to happen. Unfortunately, I would like to live for perpetuity. But Jill's right. You'll know in the next couple of weeks if this is the same old stuff or if it's actually a new direction.
Go ahead, Eloise.
Good morning, everyone. I want to say that on the issue of President Trump being out, yes, that's true. And he'll still be here, influencing his base. They're now hanging on to the possibility of him running again in 4 years. I just can't imagine that being a reality. I'm concerned for who he will be once he leaves office. And I know that given what we've seen over the last 4 years, he'll be, the likelihood is that he'll be more of the same and quite possibly worse. We don't know. There's no way to know. And so I think that we need to, for those of us who have a spiritual base, we need to pray to the God of our understanding that we are safe from whatever storm is coming when Trump leaves office, because he obviously, this is my opinion, he's the storm, at least for now. And he's leaving office, and we don't know what he's going to do over the next 60 some days while he still has the power to do something. They're talking about him attacking, is it Iraq or Iran?
Iran.
Thank you, Iran. And who knows what else. There was an interview of President Obama. His new book drops today, and he was on 60 Minutes, for those of you who might have seen that interview. And he spoke of the fact that presidents are at the end of their term, when they're lame ducks, they are trying to get accomplished anything that they can get accomplished that they haven't. So President Trump is up to something in these last several days, and he's not conceding that notwithstanding, I don't think he doesn't have to. There's no law that says he has to. I do think we need to be prayerful for our country, for the people that he is influencing. And I am doing my best not to be afraid. I don't want to walk in fear. The other thing I want to say is that I can thank God for President Trump in these 4 years, because his presidency made me a better citizen. And
me too.
I am more politically astute, more concerned. I was an apolitical person. And when President Obama came in, I was so happy that we had this biracial president, our first Black president, as we say. And yes, that was a hurdle that we had crossed. And then that was it. I was perfectly satisfied that he was there and really not paying attention otherwise. Mm-hmm. So I'm very grateful to God for Trump's 4 years that have me be on calls like this, and that have me appreciating the politics of this nation. I just feel so much more informed. And I came here from Chicago. I came to North Carolina from Chicago, and I'll stop after I say this. And that is a political animal of its own. So I never thought that I'd be anywhere, including North Carolina, that would have anything that could hold a candle to Chicago's politics. So once I got to North Carolina, I found that, I was living in Chicago's bubble, but there's something else going on in the rest of the world. Thanks.
Thanks, Eloise. I think you're speaking for a lot of us. We all became politically active. Yeah.
I'm following the same news and very worried, but I take some hope in his lawyer, Michael Cohen, who's known him for so many years. He said, most likely Trump's going to probably go away around Christmas time and not come back to Washington. He'll go off to Mar-a-Lago during the holidays, and we won't see him again. We can hope for that.
Your lips to God's ears.
Yeah, and I agree about being grateful for Trump, because he's brought out a lot of things that have been covered up, and in a way he made Black Lives Matter, because a lot of this stuff would have just gone status quo, and now we're ready to deal with some things that have been just buried for far too long.
Apocalypse means unveiling, and a lot of things have been uncovered. So that we can really change. Yeah, go ahead, Doyle.
Yeah, I think following up on that, I think that there's been reports that perhaps Trump will resign with the idea that Pence will pardon him. And my fantasy is that Pence agrees to that, but then after Trump resigns, changes his mind.
That won't happen.
Can I just welcome to the family Bryant's cat, Napoleon, because Napoleon is on the screen, and she adopted this cat. Oh, I'm so happy to see him. Anyway, welcome Napoleon to Tuesdays with Tillis. Yeah, Jesse, go ahead.
He likes to Zoom.
I, like a lot of us, are going to be following closely SDNY. That's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for mentioning that. And am I correct that Trump has no pardon power for state prosecutions? Is that correct?
That is correct.
But SDNY is federal, isn't it? Southern District of New York, is not that the federal district?
Yeah. But the state of New York, he does not have pardon power. I mean, and I'm hoping that she's got the goods on him on his taxes.
Oh, yes.
Not to mention his sons.
It's a civil case. That's a civil case, criminal in New York City.
Okay.
Cy Vance is the one we need.
Okay. Bessie, go ahead.
I would just like to add to that about SDNY or New York State is that, and what I think it was Eloise said about, or maybe it wasn't, maybe it was Michael, who said he's just going to go away because what Cohen has been saying. I don't want us to get complacent and think that, he's going to be in jail and won't be able to run in 24 just because that's what we want to happen. People with money or other people think have money always have a way of getting around the law and being put in prison like the rest of us. So we need to keep that in mind too. And try not to be afraid. Eloise, I heard you talking about being afraid. That I'm walking in fear these days. Because, 74 million people, 75 million people is a lot of people. That means that's half of us who voted. So anybody, the next person standing next to you could be just waiting to, do whatever dirt they feel like they want to do just because you're standing there. It's something to think about.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bessie. Joy, go ahead.
Just a quick thought. I've been very grateful as Black Lives Matter have organized and become so effective that we've changed the nomenclature from white privilege to white supremacy, because it changes from a white gaze to a Black gaze in terms of how the power is being used. It's not, we're all complicit in white supremacist systems. And I think that's very important to not think of it as privilege at all.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you. Yeah, Lib, go ahead.
I'm dealing with fear also, and wondering if anyone has an update on what Eric Prince is up to. And because he's out of the country.
Oh boy.
That's really important, Lib, because Eric Prince, if we pull out Afghanistan, maybe he's the guy that goes in and takes our place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the last I heard is he's pitching that the U.S. military pulls out and they give a contract to him and his guys to go in and police Afghanistan.
Scary.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Mary Jen. Go ahead.
Mary Grace.
Mary Grace.
Thanks. So I do want to make a distinction between white privilege and white supremacy. They're both very much in play in our society. Mm-hmm. White privilege is often unnoticed by white people. We we have these privileges we don't even recognize. Whereas white supremacy is an overt systemic call to this white hegemony. So we do have to have discussions around both those very distinctive terms, and both are very much in play in our society now. I think it's important to look at the terminology and recognize that, like, white privilege, anybody who's white has that. There's no denying. Whereas white supremacy is not necessarily embraced by everybody who's white.
Okay, I'm going to give Joy a chance to respond to that. Do you want to respond to that?
Well, I think the systemic institutionalization of white privilege is part of white supremacy. The way we've structured our real estate, our banking,
right,
our laws, our punishments of groups of people, that privilege creates the white supremacy of our institutionalized differential of outcomes for different groups.
Go ahead, Classis.
Speaking of the difference in the two, I understand that, and I totally agree with that. I also think that it seemed that the experts and the scholars who speak on race relations and what it's going to take for us to get back to what we're trying to get to, the consistent theme is that white people own a huge responsibility for helping us get back.
Yes.
Right.
And I think for those white people who are not on that train, that is white supremacy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They stand there. It's not overt, like the gun-toting, mad-looking men. It's not that. But if they're not doing something to help this problem, they fall into that white supremacy category in my eye.
I agree.
Yeah, like Ibram X. Kendi says, either you're racist or you're anti-racist. There's nothing else to be. Go ahead, Doyle.
Yeah, I think one of the things about white privilege is that embedded within it is the concept of entitlement. Whites are privileged and are entitled to it. And I think that has to really be confronted. It's only by giving up the idea that you're entitled that you can even begin to take your white privilege seriously.
Mary Grace. Mary, go ahead. You got your hand up. You can talk.
White supremacy is aggression. It means that somebody is being oppressed. The privilege is as Doyle said, it's about this sort of privilege that, I don't deserve that, or I didn't ask for that. White supremacy is an assertion that pervades everything. And I think it's much more difficult and much more important to address. And since I'm talking here, anxiety is my enemy, really. And I think right now, I find it very hard not to be anxious. I think until the electors have met, until the Senate is won, I'm going to be concerned, and I will be. And I think how the Senate resolves will also affect what Biden does and who he puts around him.
Go ahead, Diane.
I dropped an article that I read this morning, which is, speaks about the issue of white supremacy and the election in a way that we've talked about around the edges. And I just think Umar Haque is someone I'm going to start reading more of. But I dropped that title in there, and he makes a very good argument. Then I read several others that he wrote about the fact that we are where we are as a country because of not just white privilege, but the attachment to whiteness. And that all of the things that we talk about on this call and that we care about are a function of the fact that the country is 80% white. We talk a lot about the demographic changes, but those are demographic changes that are very regional. the fact that we have a Senate that looks the way it looks is definitely because we are a white country with large swaths of the country that have equal power to other parts of the country. You all know that. But I thought it was really interesting to read and try to get into that way of thinking about things. And I think you would all find, I mean, you may not agree with him, but I think it'll help frame the way we look at the politics of where we are, because it isn't just a progressive neoliberal kind of dichotomy. It really is a white.
Can you got to mute yourself, I think, or whatever.
Not I was talking.
Mary White needs to mute herself.
Yeah. So the dichotomy really is a dichotomy, if we want to think about it that way, of a politics that's based on whiteness and not whiteness. And that really kind of frames a lot of things. So anyway, you might want to copy that article and look at it.
Thank you. I would also refer you to the Atlantic article about the two souls of America, the battle between the two souls of America. That's an excellent article. Go ahead, Eloise. Eloise? Eloise, you had your hand up. Do you want to talk?
I do. So a group, I'm in a Friday group. It's called The Conversation, Race and Racism in America, What's So and What's Next. And I'm one of the co-moderators. There are three of us. We've just completed the book Caste by Isabel Wilkerson. And in it, she speaks of caste being the dominant way that our society exists, and that race is inside of it. I'm not sure that I agree with, I've read the book. I'm not sure that I agree with that. I'm still pondering that. And if that be so, the dominant caste, in this case, whites, would always want to stay on top. There will always be the war, if you will, or the battle to remain on top. In 2042, I believe it is, she states that whites will be in the minority. And I've noticed that around political pundits, they are speaking of being ruled by the minority, even now. So white males in particular want it, and I cannot speak for everyone here. This is a blanket statement. It's not intended to be the truth. But white males would want to remain in charge of our government and in charge of our society. Second statement. So I recommend reading Caste, by the way. And Wake Forest University began last night a community reading of the book, and there are 2 more sessions coming up. I believe one is December 2nd, and I'm not sure when the other one is. And so I'm going to register for that, just to hear what the speakers have to say and the moderator has to say. I had another thought, and it's left me, so I'll come back when I think of it or put it in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you. Bessie.
I did read the article about the two souls of America, and as I was reading it, I was thinking to myself, this is going to be an ongoing battle. I knew that it was going to be an ongoing battle, but I didn't realize how embedded it is, because from the beginning, there's been these opposing forces, justice and injustice, and it becomes a battle against each other, and just staving off one side or the other for a period of time, and then it comes back to the forefront, and it's something that continues to loom. But in the very end of it, it seems like he kind of changes his mind or thinking. He said that we want to go back to normal. In the end, we will all be disappointed. There is no saving America's soul. There's no restoring the soul. There's no fighting for the soul of America. there's no uniting the souls of America. There is only fighting off the other soul of America. So, but then he says, we can once and for all win the battle between the souls of America. So it was kind of interesting, I thought, that he starts out saying that, you know, there's always going to be these two struggles for the soul of America, and he makes it sound like it's going to be that way into perpetuity. But then in the end, he says, we can overcome and take over. But he also has another article that I didn't read, that I will read, about can this be the beginning of the end of racism? So I just thought that it was an interesting article about what has happened in the past and why it's happened in the past and why this will always be a struggle, it seems. And maybe he was saying that we shouldn't give up the fight because we can overcome it. It's just going to be always a struggle.
Thank you for all that. He definitely was saying, you know, we can. I think Ibram X. Kendi wrote that article, and you know, he, at the end of his book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, he talks about his struggle with metastatic colon cancer. And he ends up talking about racism in America, or white supremacy in America, as a metastatic cancer in America. And that's one of the most helpful analogies that I've heard, because as he wrote about how difficult it was to overcome this metastatic cancer, and he had to suffer, but he did overcome it. And this sort of dovetails with Eddie Glaude's book, Begin Again, which is about James Baldwin and how he lost heart so much when Medgar Evers and Malcolm X and Martin Luther King were murdered, and how, especially when he saw that white people just moved on, you know, white people just completely betrayed the civil rights movement. And he's saying we have another chance now. We have another chance to stay in it instead of just saying, okay, that was nice, Black Lives Matter, but now we're just going to have business as usual, you know? So there is a lot of hope in these books, and they seem to me to point to the fact that we're at a real tipping point, and we just have to keep pushing. We have to really keep pushing because we can't betray this vision of justice like America has done over and over again. And everyone seems to be pointing to this, like, you know, The Third Reconstruction is that book by Reverend Barber, who talks about now we need the third Reconstruction. Go ahead, Joel.
Yeah, I think going back a little farther in literature and following what Bessie was saying, the North Carolina writer Thomas Wolfe years ago wrote a book called You Can't Go Home Again. And in the next to the last chapter of that book, entitled Ecclesiasticus, was an interesting structure in that he said that what we do as individuals in this life has so little impact, you know, like a drop of water in the ocean. Despite that, we have to fight on.
And you know, many drops can make a big difference.
Yeah.
Many graves of sand. You know, I just keep coming back to organize. We got to keep organizing. We have to get smarter and smarter about organizing. That's how Stacey Abrams did it in Georgia. Yeah, Jewel, go ahead.
Several of my friends who foolishly do not attend Tuesdays with Tillis has said, so I guess you need to keep going. I bet you all were hoping you could stop. And it was just so striking to me. It's like, no, we've spent 4 years learning how to participate in democracy.
Right.
I am so grateful to all of you for this truth of this is what we are supposed to be doing.
Yeah, thank you. And that's a beautiful segue for me to something else, which is I don't know what our focus is going to be. And that's something we're going to have to discover together after Georgia. I mean, certainly not. It's so great that we can focus on Georgia. We don't have to figure out our focus yet. But I just want to say a couple things, which is I think everything is open. Like, for example, I think each of us need to go deep inside ourselves and figure out how can we best use who we are and what we've learned. And we may not all decide on the same thing. But I know I'm in the midst of that very deep discernment process. I want to continue doing this on Tuesday for sure. But aside from that, you know, what is it that each of us need to focus on so that we can be in alignment with our life's purpose and do as much as we can toward justice, you know? And then the other thing is what I mean by wide open is I don't know if I want to keep being an indivisible organization. That's something we can decide together. I really don't know. And yes, we did start with the cabinet, with Trump's cabinet picks, because those cabinet picks were clearly every single one of them, and I can feel my anger coming up about this, designed to dismantle the very agencies that they were supposed to lead, every single one of them, and that's what's happened. But, you know, Indivisible modeled itself on the Tea Party. And I don't know if I want to continue to model my organizing on the Tea Party. And I keep thinking of what Audre Lorde, Black lesbian poet, said many years ago, the master's tools cannot dismantle the master's house. So how can we reach really deep into what we know in the deepest sense and figure out how best to use our organizing and our energy? And Mike, you've had your hand up for a while, so I'm going to recognize you next.
I think one of the things we need to focus on, and probably after Georgia's over, give us a better insight, is the 2022 Senate race where we no longer have an incumbent running. That is a wide open race. And I think it behooves us to gather around one specific candidate who we feel can present the right direction for North Carolina to head into the 21st, to continue in the 21st century and take us to a better place than we are right now. So I think we need to focus on 2022.
Yeah, and replacing Burr with somebody good. Very good. Yeah, Mary Grace?
Thanks. Yes. So, yeah, the political organizing is vital. I'm a part of, I think several people have talked about organizing, and I'm a part of Raise Up and Fight for 15. And they are a phenomenally they're just focusing on both the individuals and the structural injustices, and they're just so good. So I'm really grateful to be part of that group. So one of the things that I would encourage us as individuals to do is to really link into those kinds of grassroots organizing communities where they are doing their own community building and finding their own agency within their own structural space. And it's just beautiful and fascinating and amazing. And they did so much work on voting and educating people on why to vote and how to vote and what it means to vote and the historical implications and realities. This is just great. So anyway, for me, that has been a real gift and a joy and a challenge.
Yeah, Fight for 15 has been a real gift and a joy to a lot of us, I think. And it kind of points to how can we support Black youth? Because this is a Black youth-led organization. Yeah, good. Fight for 15. Other thoughts?
Howdy, I was just writing in the chat. Are we going to do anything to support the Poor People's Campaign with their car caravan on Monday?
Oh, Karen, thank you. That went completely out of my head. Yeah. Yes, thank you. So hopefully we all got an email. And if you're not on the Poor People's Campaign email list, sign up. Just go to the Poor People's Campaign. But they are doing a car caravan on the 23rd. Now, I think there were 34 cars in the last one, and I think about 32 of them were people from Tuesdays with Tillis. And we actually really had a lot of fun. Elena, who had to leave because she's been funding this amazing food program, Fed Up, and she's working really hard on that. She had to leave, but she and I were the co-leaders of that last car caravan, and I bet neither one of us want to do that again. But I'm definitely going to show up with my car, and I'm wondering if anybody would like to help organize it. There are people who are moving it forward, but if anybody wants to help organize us, that would be great. But okay, you don't have to do that. Can you just come with your car?
What is the message? What's the objective?
Karen, are you looking at it?
Not right now, but I can pull it up real quick.
Yeah, I'll pull it up too. Thank you so much for bringing that up because it just went out of my head, and it's this coming Monday. So the beauty of it, is it's socially distanced. I can't find it.
I've got it here.
Okay.
It's at 2:30.
Okay.
And it is to mourn all those we've lost to COVID-19 and to demand a COVID stimulus relief bill, a smooth transition in national leadership, and a moral agenda for the state legislatures to enact. We will join 30 other states doing this.
Oh, let's do it. Let's do it. I still have a bunch of posters with Mitch McConnell's face demanding COVID stimulus that I'll bring. I still have several rolls of painter's tape so we can put signs on our cars. If people can make signs about mourning people's deaths, that would be really good. And we still have, Andy got us a whole lot of chalk that we can write on windows. It was really fun last time and safe, and I'm looking forward to it. So I'll put more about it in the tiny letter too.
What is the location?
I think it'll be the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
What this says, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I don't have location in this email.
Right. There wasn't a location yet, but it's going to be all state capitals again. And there wasn't a location, right? So we need to find someone from the North Carolina Poor People's Campaign that might be talking about this and organizing it. Yep.
Okay, I got a text from Anna, and I'll be in touch with her and put the details in the tiny letter.
Great.
I bet we're going to end up in the same place and then circling the building. It didn't take very long, and I think we do need some news coverage this time. I don't think we had any last time, but we also didn't really work on it. So I don't know if Mark is still with us or if he would be able to work on that. Anyway, yeah, well, never a dull moment. That's our next project.
Yeah, and Susan mentioned the chat. Next week is also our 200th.
Yes.
So this could be something that we kind of lead up to our 200th,
Yes. Oh, that's so good. That's good.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember for our 100th week, Karen, Lady Liberty, got us 100 glasses. Do you remember that? And so we all looked really silly in the picture. But and we won't be together, of course, but we'll be on Zoom. 200 weeks is a lot of weeks. We've learned a lot. I have really learned a lot. Well, it's good to see everyone. Do you feel better than you did when you started? I feel better.
I always do after these meetings.
Yeah, so let's just be in our individual processes of discernment. And what I would like to do is, I've been thinking about a survey. I want to design a survey that I send out to everyone, so that we all think about these things. Like, do we want to continue to be an indivisible organization? What is our focus? That kind of thing. Because I always find the richness of all of our thoughts together are exponentially greater than individual thoughts. So we can do this. John Oliver on Sunday. I have not been reading the chat, but it's so great. You can save the chat, and Jewel sends the chat out. And a lot of times later, I can find out what people are saying in the chat when I can't read it, following people speaking. Okay, I think we're done. What else? Final words. Time to sing?
Sounds good. I'm looking for him.
Oh, while you're looking, Dewey, go ahead.
Everybody can do that. Do one little.
Uh-oh.
Control this virus. There's something that we all can do between now and say March or April of next year. I'm going to try to involve all 4 people that are part of our Democratic Executive Committee. Here we are, Democrats, pitch in and down for this governor and our incoming president. Our lives.
Thank you. Thank you. Very important. Thank you. Go ahead, Rance.
Okay. Okay. All right. Hang on here. Jeez. Okay. So the words are in the chat.
Okay.
And let's see. And is Mr. Flaherty with me? Oh, okay. We're rolling, Mr. Flaherty. And you're on mute, by the way. Oh, there he is. Okay, great.
Okay.
Good. Can't quite hear the chord.
And then Scarlett is going to close us with some words. Where did Michael go?
He's got a lot of on and off switches, is my guess. One more time. Another chord. You're frozen. Here we go. Ain't gonna let nobody turn us around, turn us around, turn us around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. We're gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching on to freedom land. Ain't gonna let no bully turn us around, turn us around, turn us around. Ain't gonna let no bully turn us around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching on to freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody turn us around, turn us around, turn us around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. We're gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching on to freedom land.
Karen asked us as we started today, how was everybody feeling? Some people said they were angry, some afraid. There was some joy. But I think some of us are just bone tired. We're just tired. So I want to share with you a poem by Kitty O'Meara. She's been considered the poet laureate of the pandemic. And the people stayed home and read books and listened and rested and exercised and made art and played games and learned new ways of being, and were still and listened more deeply. Some meditated, some prayed, some danced, some met their shadows, and the people began to think differently. And the people healed, and in the absence of people living in ignorant, dangerous, mindless, and heartless ways, the earth began to heal. And when the danger passed and the people joined together again, they grieved their losses and made new choices and dreamed new images and created new ways to live and heal the earth fully as they had been healed. So, dear people, that's my wish, my hope, my prayer. Let's all stay safe. And you know, if we're just with our closest family at Thanksgiving, there'll be other Thanksgivings. There'll be other holidays. So be safe. Unmute yourselves. Forward together.
Not one step
back. Forward together. Forward together.
Not one step back.
Thank you so much, beautiful
Thank you all.
people. Thank you so
Karen.
much.
Thanks, Karen.